What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Due to Bet Daily for September 21st, 2022. What a wild weekend in the NFL. Just saw some phenomenal comebacks. Obviously, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Dolphins, all making massive moves late in games to flip those around. Personally, I was invested there in the Dolphins, as we all were on Due to Bet Daily. We had them plus 3.5. Aaron, how crazy is it that they came back to cover that game, actually win that game outright after being down 21 in the fourth quarter?
You know, when Lamar took that one to the house, I texted you. I was like, it's over now. I thought they still had a shot to maybe not even win, but just maybe they could cover, But when he took that to the house, I thought, it's over. And then right after that, they just came roaring back. It was unbelievable. And, finally, I shouldn't say finally, it's just game 2, but they decided in that game, just run Tyreek straight. They don't have anybody fast enough. And you said it on Magic Mike. I saw or heard it. He was so wide open, even though the ball was a little underthrown, it didn't even matter. There was nobody around him. So he was a difference maker. We saw him do that in Kansas City, and he was a difference maker in that game as well. Waddle had a great game too, but it's easy to be the second wide receiver or the second option, I should say. When you've got Tyreek, he changes what you have to do defensively. You have to all of a sudden drop back, and all of a sudden it was Travis Kelce last year. It's Waddle this year for the Dolphins. He's wide open.
It's phenomenal to watch. It reminds you of the Alabama two-a-days, right? Where he doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to put the ball on the open guy and then let that superior athlete simply run away from the defenders. Papa Dude, I know you saw Tua a lot in college. This was the closest comp you had it to those Alabama teams where you just had better skill position players out there playing with them.
It's pretty easy when you got those kind of guys around you. I mean, the game is so much easier. And we saw this so much in Kansas City. And I know it's only been 2 games, but the Chiefs don't have that breakaway threat right now, and that was exposed against the Chargers, a game they should have lost. They don't have a receiver other than Kelce, and unless some of those guys begin to develop, they got problems because they're going to be a little easier to defend. You can't defend Tyreek Hill. You can't. He's a once-in-a-lifetime player. I don't want to say lifetime yet, but that speed and that explosiveness, I saw it time after time. He'd catch the ball. There'd be a guy within like 2 yards of him, 2 steps, and he's 10 yards behind him. And it's just amazing the explosiveness he's got. So he's going to make a difference in Miami. And that was a great comeback. And down the road, that's a win they're going to look back on.
Yeah.
It's
now
Go ahead.
I was going to say a team that's going to look back on a loss differently this week is the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you had multiple mistakes there at the end of the game. You have so many fantasy managers that bitch about a player not scoring a touchdown. Well, this time, not scoring a touchdown, you saw why these players are told to go down. You had Kareem Hunt go out of bounds, and then you had Chubb go into the end zone. And because of that, then a missed extra point just to cap it off. Yeah. Because of that, the Jets get the ball back with 0 timeouts in sub 2 minutes. Hit a wide open receiver, get an onside kick, and score again, and end up winning the game by 1. The Browns found 5 ways to lose this game, Aaron, and it's going to hurt them because it's going to matter.
Hey, as somebody who's watched the Browns for 4 or 5 years now, was not surprised they lost that game. I've seen the Browns lose in ways I cannot describe to everybody watching and to you guys here. It's incredible how they find ways to lose. That was an all-timer. I mean, that was even more than I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, but I just kind of laughed. I was like, yeah, this is fantastic stuff right here. I was going to say on Tyreek Hill, the thing that makes him different, he could run a 5-yard slant and take it to the house, right? And so that's another thing with him. There was one time they ran a slant. I was like, oh, he's going to score. And he only got like 30 yards. But anyway, that Browns game was incredible. I love Joe Flacco in the locker room after the game. I mean, this is a guy that he's taken a lot of heat over the years, probably rightfully so. He's not great, but that was the happiest guy in football, I think, on Sunday after that win. That was huge.
He can't move, but he's still got an arm. I mean, he can still sling it, and you got to respect the weapons that the Jets drafted in this. You got Breece Hall, who's starting to come around. I still like Michael Carter, but Breece Hall looked good. Wilson looks like he's an elite wide receiver already out there for the Jets. And their cornerback, Sauce Gardner, not a shutdown guy yet, but good. So great draft from the Jets. Things are moving along quite nicely there for them. Papa Dude, you've coached.
Right.
Was it the coach's fault, or was it the 2 running backs' faults? That they didn't stay in bounds and didn't go down?
No, it is so Hunt running out of bounds. That's ridiculous. But it is so hard not to score a touchdown, and let's face it, who really thought the Jets were going to come back to win? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just, he shouldn't have scored. But you look at Cleveland, they got so lucky week 1. Got out of Carolina with a win from a guy that makes a 58-yard field goal, and he's going to hit that 1 out of 100 times, and he did. Then you got the Jets at home. You should win that game. And they got Pittsburgh Thursday night at home. They should have gotten off to a 3-0 start. And would you bet a nickel on the Browns? I don't think I would. I don't know how you can. They should win Thursday night, but I don't know.
Interesting line movement in that game. Opens at 3.5, already up to the Browns -5. Do you really want to lay 5 points with this Browns team right now? I mean, it's total is sub 40, so I believe it was 38.5 last time I looked. So it's just real odd line movement there to kick it off.
Yeah.
The best news for the Browns, the rest of this division has been awful so far. I mean, you have the Ravens give up that game. They look like I don't know what to think of the Ravens-Dolphins. We'll talk about that a little bit later this week, I'm sure. Cincinnati looks like a train wreck after that loss down in Dallas. And then you have this Pittsburgh team that's going to be with starting Kenny Pickett in the next 2 weeks. So it's a train wreck of a division. So maybe that's the saving grace as you wait for Deshaun Watson to come back here.
That's the thing. They got a chance to get out 3-0 and take control of the division, and they've already blown a game. So it's and none of those teams are very good, So
no. Baltimore is the one that can make some noise, but injuries seem like they've started to really eat them up, especially in the secondary. And we saw that come to fruition against the Dolphins. All right, let's jump into our topic of the day here, where we were right, where we were wrong, NFL and college football style. So we're going to give you one team that we were wrong about and one team we were right about preseason. So Papa, do you want to kick us off? What team were you wrong about in college or the NFL?
In college? Okay, I've got 2. So I don't know what either one of you guys have got. So if I can do one or the other. So I'm just going to throw out BYU and Oregon. Does anybody have them?
Nope.
Okay. This game shocked me. Not that Oregon won, but the fact that they blew them off the field really shocked me. I thought BYU would win the game. I did. And it shows you the guy at Oregon is doing a pretty good coaching job, because they go into Georgia, into Atlanta, and get their doors blown off. First-year coach. They didn't panic at all. BYU's pretty good and beat them 41-20, and it was convincing. To me, that shows you some coaching's going on in Oregon, and that was the biggest surprise for me. Not necessarily that Oregon won, because it's tough to win there, but to beat them like that, I think that shows that Oregon's pretty good.
Yeah, going into either BYU or Utah, 2 teams in that state that are very good, and getting a win is always impressive. To blow the doors off is wildly impressive. Yeah. Aaron, give us one NFL or college football team you were wrong about here.
The Bengals. They are horrible. This team should be 2-0. They've played nobody that's any kind of world beaters. They played a Dallas team that was just embarrassing week 1, was without their quarterback. And the Bengals were terrible in this game. They got way behind. They made a comeback, but it was like the most unexciting comeback ever. It was just like, Dallas, here, take it. Please take it. We do not want to win this game. And, and they still end up losing 20-17. I don't know, guys. You can't. We were talking about us on the Dudes Who Bet Sports show. You can't lose games in the NFL that you should win when you're in a division that is competitive. Well, not great. It's still a competitive division. There's not a horrible team. There's not a great team in their division. So you can't lose these games. You have to win them. They didn't. I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. I've been dead wrong on them.
Yeah, this is a team that I was down on last year, and I still don't think I was necessarily wrong. If you go back and you look at the run that they made last year, I took them over for wins, but I didn't think they were as good as to make it actually to the Super Bowl. And you look back, they had to come back down 21 against KC in Week 15 to just make the playoffs. They were down. They had to survive the 2 drives from the Raiders in the first round game. They had to have Tannehill's worst game of his career in the second round game. They played great against the Chiefs, specifically in the second half. Don't want to take anything from them. They were supposed to revamp this offensive line. It doesn't look they've done that, Papa Dude. I mean, Burrow is just under pressure constantly.
Yeah, he has no time to do anything. I mean, they look inept on offense, and that's just been it's a shock that they did not improve in the offseason. So maybe these guys aren't as good, or maybe it takes a while to gel. An offensive line to gel.
We mentioned it on our show before the season started. We said, well, yeah, the Bengals, they kind of had some lucky wins, but they should be better this year.
Yeah.
They did things to be better, and their line is worse this year. I mean, it's atrocious.
You have to beat Pittsburgh.
You do.
You have to.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give them a little bit. I'm willing to give their offensive line one more week. They face J.J. Watt and Micah Parsons, the two best defensive edge rushers in the NFL. Those are out of the way now. Now you have to gel. You have to come together here from this offensive line perspective. You can't give up 6 sacks a game, whatever it's been the last couple games. Don't love that Chase is already complaining about not getting deep shots either. That's never a great thing for a locker room. Where I was wrong, I'm sorry, Philadelphia Eagle fans. Your team is good. I was knocking them. I picked the Giants to win the division specifically because I thought at some point this Philadelphia team would implode. They look very good on both sides of the football. Jalen Hurts, I still can't believe he might be the best quarterback from Alabama or Oklahoma in the NFL right now. But that Monday night performance was phenomenal from him. Slay shutting down Jefferson was a surprise and impressive. I didn't see this coming from the Philadelphia Eagles this year. They look like they are legit. Would you agree, Papa Dude?
Yeah, that was my NFL one for sure. Okay, I'm going to say some things here. Going to make Aaron mad. I don't care. I don't. When Jalen Hurts was at Oklahoma, he personally got them to the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, he did. Here's the thing about Hurts that coaches love. This guy prepares. He's a competitor, and he's a leader. And you got to have all that. And guys, when you look at his stats from last year, he willed that team to the playoffs. He was 80% of their offense. They had nothing else. And when you look at his stats from the other night, and Minnesota was supposed to be pretty good, he shredded them. 26 of 31, 333 yards, and rushed for 57 more. Is he better than Lamar Jackson?
I would pump the brakes there. I don't, because he's got receivers. He's got talent around him. Lamar,
right. I'm just saying, is he? I don't think so. I think Lamar's more explosive, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would take Lamar over Hurts. I didn't think Hurts had the arm talent to be able to do this in the NFL. But now, he's got 2 elite receivers, Devontae Smith.
He does.
Not AJ Green. AJ, can't remember his last name. Brown, there it is. Yeah. So, with the elite weapons, I think he's got a shot at producing. My one fear is the amount of hits he takes.
Yeah.
Because one injury to Jalen Hurts is a big.
I'll tell you one thing, though, Mike. That son of a gun is tough.
Now I'll jump in and give him that.
He's bigger than
he hits at OU, and he just got right back up. I mean, I know it's different NFL, but he can take them.
From a teammate perspective, you have to remember what he did at Alabama too. I mean, he was the star of the whole year. Gets pulled for Tua. Tua gets hurt, and he leads them into the title game as well. I mean, that he was wildly impressive what he was to do from a teammate perspective and a preparation perspective at Alabama.
And he didn't complain. You didn't hear any complaints out of him. And that takes a lot of character whenever you were the stud for 2 years and then suddenly you get benched. There's a lot of guys that could not have taken that. Mm-hmm. Now, he did get out of there, and that was a good thing. He needed to get out of there. If he'd have stayed, he may not be in the pros today, so he made the choice. I just know at Oklahoma, he was extremely intelligent. The guy was, because he just played games with the press. It was so funny to watch him deal with the press at Oklahoma because they treated him like he'd never done anything. And he kept telling guys, I played at Alabama. I've been in big games before. I remember when they got ready to play Texas. They go, have you ever been in a game like this? And he goes, yeah, we've been in some championship games, I believe, at Alabama. And there's a little thing called the Iron Bowl that I took part in Auburn. So, guys, I've been around. It was really funny to watch him play with the press.
All right, let's jump into the positives here. Papa Dude, NFL or college, one thing that you were right about.
Oh, man, there's not much I was right about. The only one I could really say, I had like 10 kind of picks here that I thought could go either way. There was a couple of them I got right. And the one I think is the best I did, I had Liberty covering against beating the spread against Wake Forest. And that went down to a 1-point game. I got that one right. There wasn't much else that I got right. So on that college side, it was that. And the fact that I thought Green Bay would bounce back against the Bears and look pretty good. They look like the old Green Bay. And the other one, I don't know. Are you going to mention Tampa?
No.
Okay, I thought that was a good win for them after not a real good performance in Dallas. I thought they played well in New Orleans. So
it's interesting starting a quarterback with 4 broken vertebrae. That's always a new one. That Jameis Winston, they're playing that game with 4 broken vertebrae in New Orleans. I never heard of that.
Never heard of that before.
Aaron, give us one team college football you were right about.
Well, I tell you what, guys, Kansas. I told everybody they'd be 3-0. I'm just kidding. Definitely not Kansas. I'm as shocked as everybody else. And by the way, I'm so excited for Kansas Duke. I think we should forget about the OU game and go to Kansas Duke. 3-0 versus 3-0. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a basketball game at half just to draw fans.
yeah. At halftime they're playing a half of basketball. Exactly. Look. Somich, as it got closer, I think you and I kind of agreed on the same thing, and it was the Chiefs are going to be okay. The Chiefs aren't going to implode like people think. They're still kind of the bullies of the division. Even though Papa Dude's right, Chargers should have beat them. They didn't.
That's right.
Chargers always should beat them. They don't, So I think Kansas City still being kind of the team in that division is still relevant. We were kind of right about that. And then you look at like, oh, this division's going to be tough. All of a sudden the Raiders are 0-2. They blow a game. The Broncos are 1-1. That is an effing train wreck in Denver right now. They're the worst 1-1 ever.
Can we talk about the fact that Nathaniel Hackett gets a delay of game on a 54-yard field goal in Denver, which the kicker makes, good from 70 probably, and then punts it from trying a 59-yarder after he went for a 64-yarder in Seattle to win the game? What are we doing?
And he's in that high air. He's in that altitude of Denver where you can kick 59-yard field goals. That's not that big a deal out there with that high altitude.
You literally just saw your kicker make it from 65.
Yeah.
If you had a timeout, just call timeout. Don't get the delay game penalty. There's so many issues with this.
So before the season, we're like, oh, it's a 4-way battle. And now it's down to 2, and they already have a win over the one that actually is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to still be there.
Yeah. Where I was right, the Tennessee Titans season is over.
Yeah, you were right. You were right.
This was the 9-5 under lock. This team is going to be 2-9 going into this schedule gets harder.
Yeah.
They still have to play Tampa, Kansas City, Green Bay. This is not a cakewalk of a schedule. We already saw Malik Willis last night. Derrick Henry has finally reached the point where all of these carries over 4 years are affecting him. You saw that against Buffalo, just getting hit in the backfield consistently. They've lost their top offensive lineman. They've lost their top pass rusher. If I'm the Tennessee front office, I'm shopping Tannehill. I'm shopping Henry because you are in a rebuild mode now. And those are assets that have some value right now that will not have any value in, end of the year maybe, because you're going to move Tannehill on the offseason anyway. That's why you drafted Malik Willis.
Yeah.
You might as well try and get something for him right now. Call up some of these teams that have injured quarterbacks. See what you can get for Tannehill because they're not good. They're terrible on offense. Henry's done. Their over-under is now at 7.5. I still like the under. They're minus 160 to miss the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs.
Have you seen who they play this week? This is an elimination game. They play the Raiders.
Yeah.
It's Raiders in Tennessee. The loser's out.
If they lose that one, the Somich plan has to come into effect.
Look, you're going to need to beat the Bills. You're not beating the Bills with this team, and your window is closed. There is no, what are you playing for at this point? Because the team as constructed has zero chance at beating the Chargers, the Bills, or the Chiefs, the 3 best teams in that league. They know it. They know it. And they need to, I think they've already started to accept it in the front office. It's going to be a rough year for Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. If they lose this week, I think Willis starts week 4. I think that would be the start of it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you replace A.J. Brown with a 11th pick at wide receiver. That's your top weapon, who's actually looked pretty good. But they're already in rebuild mode. Might as well just commit to the bit here and get rid of the 2 tradable assets that you have.
Well, and the other thing is, too, they're in a division that's terrible. So it's not going to take much to rebuild to get back to the top, if you draft right and do it the right way. The division's weak.
So it'll be interesting to see what Tennessee does moving forward here. But let me tell you, they're not winning 10 games this year. So pretty happy about the bets we've got in there. There's not a ton to talk about on the racing side today. You do have some Churchill action. We'll get back into more racing as the weekend progresses. Got to see some phenomenal horses up at Woodbine. Modern Games was wonderful. But we're going to jump right into the best bets here because we're already over for a Wednesday show. let's start with Papa Dude here. Papa Dude, we're going to play the same game, just different ways. Tell me why you like the over here with Houston and Tampa.
Well, all right. The obvious over to pick is Toronto and the Phillies, right? Because that game was 18-11 last night. So, all right, I have picked the obvious 2 times in a row and got my ass kicked. So I'm not doing it today. I'm not. Because how many times have you seen an 18-11 game one night and it's 2-1 the next night? It happens all the time. So I'm not going to get baited into that. Now, if it had been 7 instead of 8, I might have. I'm not real confident on this one either. But Corey Kluber is pitching for the Rays tonight, and he has been god-awful in his last couple of starts. And he's been pretty bad. I'll never forget the first show I was on here. Magic picked him, and he got shelled that night too. And that's fresh in my memory how mad Magic was the next day. So I'm thinking 7. Houston might get 5 themselves. That's my thinking on this. The problem is McCullers is a good pitcher for Houston. He hasn't pitched a lot this year, but he's been good since they brought him back and got him going again. That's the problem. Will the Rays be able to score enough to cover this? But I think they can. The other one I thought about was the Cubs and the Marlins at 6.5. Those are 2 crappy teams with 6.5. And I don't like to bet crappy teams. So I'm going to take a shot tonight on it's got over. I want under. No. I do want over. I want over.
Yeah.
I want over. And I think it's minus 115, I believe. That's what we're getting on that. So I'm going to go over that. I can see 5-3 pretty easy in this one.
Yeah, right now it's the under is minus 105. So you're getting a little bit of saving on the juice there. So I'm sorry, the over is minus 115. You're right. Yeah, minus 115 there on the over. So a little bit of juice, but I agree with you. I think the Astros are going to put up points. I actually thought this was a great baseball day to bet. I actually liked the under in the White Sox-Cleveland game. When you have extra inning games, you generally see unders the next day. You've got Tristan McKenzie and Lance Lynn facing each other, 2 good pitchers, under 7.5 there. I thought was a pretty good bet. But I really like the Astros today for all the reasons you mentioned. Kluber, not good. McCullers, coming back from injury, very good. Getting better, actually, with every single start. Hasn't given up an earned run in the last 2 starts. So I like the Astros here as a winner, and they're minus 130. But I really like the Mets, too, who I think have a massive pitching edge in this spot. So I'm going to parlay the 2 together and see if we can get a nice little winner home. We got Taijuan Walker coming out for the Mets, 12-4. He had a rough August, but he has turned it back around. The main issue was walk to strikeout, so control. He had 10 walks and 13 strikeouts in August. Already this month, he's got 18 strikeouts and 2 walks and 3 starts. So you've seen that control come right back to him. So I like the fact we got him on the mound. And on the other side, we've got Hauser pitching for the Brewers, who's a 5 ERA. So I'm getting the better team with a better pitcher in both of these matchups. They're both about minus 130 if you want to play them individually. Or you can parlay the 2 together and get plus 210. So I'm going to go with a little 2-teamer here to kick off the week and see if we can get the Mets and the Astros home. And the 2-1, not bad on those 2.
I like it.
I like the 2-1.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like the Astros a lot, but I didn't want to pass up the Mets either. I was waiting for your bet, Papa Dude, because I thought you were going to take one of these 2 teams, and I was going to take the other. And when you didn't take
the Mets, I miss them every time. So,
well, hopefully I can get a little bit luckier with the Mets here. All right, Aaron, let's send it out here on a horse racing bet. You're headed over to Remington Park, one of the best small parks in the world, smaller racetracks in the world. Great place to go. If you're in Oklahoma City, make sure you check it out. Tell us a little about this Asherson horse, Aaron.
Well, listen, God bless you for saying that about Remington Park, the best track in the country other than Saratoga or maybe Oaklawn. Let's talk about Remington Park here. First race, 7:07 post time, Central Time at Remington, by the way, if you want to play this one. And we're going to the first race. Number 3, Money Linder for me on top. Came back from a layoff last time out with Asmussen and won at Remington Park at the maiden claiming level, lowest level you could go, but won by 5 1/4. Wheels the horse right back up here in a 7-5 claimer today. It just, to me, this horse seems like a little bit of a standout. I like that the fact, yes, we won at a low level, but we totally dominated last time out. They were trying this horse in a lot tougher races kind of to start his career and just decided, hey, probably time to try to put this horse where he can get a victory. Got the job done. Look for him to be forwardly placed, kind of track the number 2 horse, who I think will get out to the lead and then pounce at the top of the stretch. I am a little worried about the price, but I do think it'll be above the threshold. I think we'll get about even money on this horse by the time it's all said and done. So I like this horse a lot. Steve Asmussen actually owns a piece of this one. It's always a good sign when he drops the horse, but he owns it. It's like, yeah, he's just trying to get wins with the horse. So I think number 3 money lender is going to be pretty tough in this spot.
Yeah, this was one of those where I looked at the race after you picked the horse, and it's one of those where I see why you like it. I think it's going to take some action. My guess is you're looking at even money or 6-5, somewhere in that range. Any concern here that's first time against winners? And this is the maiden 75 jumping up into $75,000 claimers or $7,500 claimers.
No, I'm not too concerned. Usually a maiden claimer will get a low speed figure no matter what. And it did get a pretty low one, but that speed figure, at least from time form perspective, is fast enough to win. It's faster than anybody else in this race. So that didn't bother me. Like I said, if the horse would have won by, let's say, a length, maybe I'm not going to play today, but really kind of a runaway victory. To me, that last spot, it just looked like hey, we've kind of dropped this horse. We dropped to 15. We've been running for 30. Let's get it to the bottom. Let's get a win. If it gets claimed, whatever. It's not that big a deal. We only gave $5,000 for it anyway, and didn't get claimed. So it's like, hey, throw it right back at that level. We won last time at the maiden claiming level. This is about as low as you can run for at Remington. So give it a shot. I think the horse is just properly placed, and they're just trying to get wins with it. And when it gets claimed, no big deal.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. We're not going up to $15,000 or $25,000 claimers here. We're staying at that $7,500 level where you won at maiden special weight. So it's a jump, but it's not nearly as big of a jump as you may have seen in some other spots. All right. Well, thank you everybody very much for joining us here. We're going to sign off, but before that, we'll review these best bets. So we got Papadou taking Houston, Tampa over 7 tonight. Aaron, Remington Park, race number 1, number 3, 2-1 on the morning line. I'm going to take a Mets and Astros money line parlay plus 210 there. Last week ended up going 8-11, lost $132, but for the year we're up $2,318, up $100 base bet. Make sure you join us all week at noon Eastern here for Dudes Who Bet Daily for our best bets across the horse racing and sports world. And don't forget on Saturday, it's 11 a.m. so that we can make those noon kickoffs. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you guys tomorrow.